All right, time for another episode of the Joshcast. I just tried recording this a second ago and it wasn't working for some reason. But luckily I caught it, otherwise I would have been talking for a good 20 minutes and it wouldn't have been recorded. But I'm getting older and wiser. Older and wiser. Older and wiser. Turning into a lounge singer there. So, I'm at the Starbucks yesterday, and I'm trying to get in line, and there's this woman with a stroller, and she's scrolling on her cell phone, barely moving in front of me. And I found myself getting furious with this woman. That you're in line. You are holding up the line by texting on your phone. But of course I can't say anything. Well, I wouldn't say anything even if she didn't have the child, but the fact that she has the child... You know what? I'm going to go out and say this. I almost feel like she's using the child as an excuse for bad cell phone etiquette. I can't prove this, but I feel like if I were to call her on it and say, hey, you're holding up the line. I've never met the woman. I don't know, I'm sure this entire theory is a projection of my own neuroses, but I feel like she would go, I have a child, all right? I'm trying to raise a child here. So forgive me if I take a minute out of trying to raise a child to check my Instagram, just for a minute, just for some relief. I'm trying to raise a child. No, raise your child. Teach that child that when you get into a line at a Starbucks, you don't dilly-dally. This is not a vacation. I wish people treated lines like a job, like they're getting paid. A line is a serious business. You got to know what you want. You got to know exactly what to do to be efficient. Have everything ready to go. You got to get it together. I get behind that law. It's called the Get It Together law. If there's a cop and he's at a Starbucks and the person is wavering, just can't make up a decision, doesn't know how to use the Starbucks app, it's a ticket. Get it together. $50 to the state. So I was on stage last night complaining about coconuts as a dessert shaving. And two comedians approached me afterwards, and this is really putting me in my head. One of them said, that was terrible. And I can't tell if she was joking or not. So I'm just going to assume the worst case scenario and she was not joking. Another comedian came up to me and said, well, that was funny. And then I got up right after you and riffed off of what you said and talked about how coconuts are the least amounts of my worries, and went on to discuss major racial and social economic problems that she is seeing that vastly eclipse the issue of when you put coconut shavings on a dessert. So I'm trying to assess what the universe is telling me with these two critiques. If it's a combination of, but what's to assess? The universe is saying A, not funny, and B, look around you, man. Your world is crumbling, and you're talking about coconut shavings. And I'll grant you that. There are many bigger problems out there in the world. But I'm not going to let go of this coconut shaving. I don't care. Is it a big problem? No, it's a tiny problem. But it is still a problem. Coconut shavings on dessert. That's got to stop. Is it at the top of the list of things that have to stop? No. I would love to live in a world where the biggest problem was coconut shavings. And I believe we can do it. I believe you and I can create that world where one day the biggest debate will be coconut shavings or not. We can make that happen. But in the meantime, while we're dealing with these bigger issues, the environment, racism, sexism, the lack of empathy, while we are dealing with all of those issues, let us not forget the issue with coconut shavings. Let's just make a note of it. Make a note. And those kind of comments, by the way, are what throw me off. Because I'm constantly battling with confidence. And I go, oh, God, I'm the worst comedian in the world if they're saying that. And all I can do is just get back up and keep doing it. I'm trying to get to that point where I don't care what other people think. Which is always a challenge with stand-up, because if you go too far in that direction and no one's laughing and you're like, well, I'm being an artist, I'm just expressing myself, then you're no longer a comedian. You are a performance artist, which there's nothing wrong with performance artists. But if the agreement between the artist and the audience is that what they're about to see is comedy, and you don't deliver on that agreement, you will encounter, dare I say, a bit of resistance. Now, if your goal is to encounter resistance and to make it awkward, then that's your goal. That is not what I want. I want to be loved. I want to be adored. Yeah, Norma Desmond, that character in what was it called? Sunset Boulevard. There we go. Yeah, that's totally me. Not enough to kill over. I don't want to pay the legal fees, but yeah, that Norma Desmond. Little too much Norma Desmond. When there's too much Norma Desmond kicking in, then we're in trouble. Yeah, but but not caring about what other people think. Really getting to that place. What a place to get to. Those are all my idols. I think that's why I like the last Doctor Who, Peter Capaldi, because the character was, I'm going to say whatever I feel, and I don't care what you think. Ah, what freedom! What freedom! What freedom to say what I feel. Well, what do I feel? What do I feel? What are my thoughts? What are my thoughts and feelings? What are my opinions? What are my strong opinions? What are my strong opinions? Well, I don't know. Let's take a deep dive. Let's talk about all the big problems that are plaguing us. I think the environment is a concern. I'll say that. I feel like that should be a bigger topic of concern. People discussing what economic system is superior. Should it be capitalism? Should it be a hybrid of capitalism and socialism? And my response is, well, if you can't breathe, it doesn't matter. I think we need to protect the environment. or we on the other end of the spectrum, we don't protect the environment because one way or another, I guess it doesn't matter. A billion years from now, one way or another, I'm not sure we'll be here anyway. So maybe the way to look at it is let's burn up the environment and, go out in a blaze of glory. If it's going to happen one way or another, grab a smoke, get in your giant V10 Cadillac engine and party on. I would rather not do that. I would rather the planet progresses. I think it'd be nicer if we lived in harmony with nature a bit more. And by a bit more, I mean a lot more. I believe there are things we can do to accomplish that. I don't think we have any more right to be on Earth than, for instance, a pygmy marmoset. And yet, the rate we're going, there aren't going to be pygmy marmosets. I don't even know if there are pygmy marmosets now. I might have just made up that animal. But what can we do to protect the environment? Well, one thing is we eat a lot of meat, and it creates a lot of livestock, and the livestock eat up all the land, and it's encroaching on native lands. And so either we cut down on eating meat, or we grow it in a lab, although I have a feeling growing it in a lab is going to open up a can of worms. I don't know if I buy that meat in a lab. I foresee new and exciting problems from that. This meat was grown in a lab. Yes, I can tell by the way it glows in the dark. It's quite delicious. I now have superpowers. Thank you. I know for myself, I probably should stop eating meat. I think that might be the next big health jump, is to either cut down on meat. I tell you, I feel better when I don't eat it. I'm okay with fish. The more I do this podcast, all this podcast is going to become is me turning into an old Jewish man. I'm 2 inches away from that now. It's going to be 18 minutes of me going, I can't eat that anymore. I can eat whitefish and room temperature water. And if it's anything other than that, Sachen weh. It's a Sachen weh. I find I'm okay with, fish doesn't seem to bother me as much as meat. But then I'm told that there's not going to be, we won't even have fish 10 years from now, that fish will be totally extinct. So then they're going to, in the end, all I'm going to be eating is Soylent Green, which again is a meat product. I want to remake the movie Soylent Green, but I want to do it through the lens of the apathy that I'm seeing in 2019, where the climax of the movie, he discovers that Soylent Green is made out of people. And he says, well, I guess that's all right. I got bigger problems. My podcast isn't getting off the ground. All right, so I'm eating meat. You know what? Come to think of it, the more I think about it, I like that I'm eating human meat. I could be on board with this. I hate most people. I love the idea of eating the people I hate. We should capitalize on this. I want to be able to I don't want to kill people. I know I don't want to do that. But it would be great if I knew where the meat was sourced. Are you saying this meat came from Steve? That annoying neighbor? Great. I'll buy a pound of it. What am I doing on Sunday? I'm barbecuing Steve. That's what I'm doing. I am legally barbecuing Steve. I think that'd be a great spin on that movie. All right, good. We've covered a lot. We've covered Soylent Green. We've covered the environment. I think we're solving a lot of problems with this podcast. I will tell you, I struggle with... there are more things that I can do that I'm not doing. I take long, hot showers. It's a waste of water. But at the same time, it's the closest thing I have to getting a hug. So, I do what I can. I don't think I throw away the right recycled materials in the right trash cans all the time. That's annoying. I know I should take more time to do that. But I always think to myself, well, you know what? I'll take more time to do that when the large multinational corporations take more time to stop destroying the earth on such a mass scale. What they do in a day is worse than anything I do in a year. Shouldn't they adjust first and then I'll adjust? That would be my vote. Growing up, I remember that we learned about protecting the environment. And one of the ways was the cartoon Captain Planet. Which, I'm going to be honest with you, was not my favorite cartoon. Because it was heavy-handed. And yes, I know that I'm a bad person and I'm supposed to protect the environment. But I want to spend this 30 minutes watching the good guys beat up the bad guys. And I prefer my good guys to be emotionally damaged, like Batman. All the people in Captain America, they're all, socially well-adjusted. There's one guy who controls the power of heart. He's the one I'd want to die first in the movie. I'd want to see that happen. I'm glad he wasn't the only character, because a character who has the power of heart, that would he just points his ring at somebody and they suddenly realize what a fool they've been and they start crying and they become a better person. That's not a show. Power of heart. I think they should have a character who's the power of moderate tolerance. I'll point this, and I won't stop hate. I'll make people, get along, but at the same time, they're still gonna need their alone time. I think that's a more realistic superhero character. The power of mild tolerance. Where's that ring? Where is that ring, I ask you? Where is that ring? Listening to the music of Stan Bush today. I'm not, I got to say too, I'm not happy with how this podcast is going, particularly today, because I feel like I'm in a voice. I'm performing voice. And I want to really let that go. And really dig down to the truth, man. Dig down to the truth, which again, I'm in my voice. And I want to keep getting better. And I think the big thing I'm seeing in stand-up anyway is truth. Finding beginning with the truth, starting with the truth. And I'll tell you, I think from it, if we really, throw away all the kidding aside here, there wasn't that much kidding in this podcast. Moderate kidding aside, I feel guilty that I'm not doing enough to help with the environment. And I should be doing more, or at least talking about it more. So I guess at the very least I could talk about it. I have little cousins, and I want for them to have a planet to be on. I think that's important. But I'll be honest with you, my desire to speak about that is still not quite as high as my desire to be, for people to acknowledge me. And maybe that's the problem. I still want that acknowledgement. So maybe the true freedom, now we're getting into Buddhism here. The problem is I want to be rewarded for the fruits of my actions. And maybe the only freedom here is to let go of that and pursue, write the jokes I want to write and go up there and do what I want to do without expecting anything. And maybe if I really commit to that, maybe the real laughs will come. Or it will be a colossal failure, and I will be an example of what not to do. I will fall into a depression, end up in the gutter, and die alone, forgotten, and the cause of major annoyance among other people. It's only one of those two paths, from what I can see.